Welcome to Cell Narrator, your home for evocative and imaginative narrated fiction. We travel far beyond the boundaries of our known world to explore the most compelling stories the future and the past can offer. Today, we journey to the silent, shimmering metropolis of Aethel, a future city where every thought is a shared stream. Every connection is instantaneous, and words are a relic of a primitive past. But amidst this perfect, frictionless clarity lives Elian, a young man whose mind is a beautiful, tranquil sea, a place the city's grand telepathic network can never breach. His life is a quiet film until he uncovers a rusted, ancient object, a radio. This forgotten artifact from the Auditory Era promises to shatter his world with its rhythmic hiss. And perhaps with the last, most important human voice ever broadcast. This is the last signal. In the heart of the silent city of Aethel, where thoughts flowed like rivers and words were a forgotten relic, lived a young man named Elian. He was an anomaly, a void in the grand, shimmering tapestry of minds. Born without the ability to send or receive thoughts, Elian was naturally silent. To others, his mind was a tranquil sea, a place their psychic probes could never breach. He navigated his world through observation, interpreting the subtle shifts in posture, the flicker of an eye, the ghost of an expression that accompanied the invisible conversations all around him. His life was a silent film, and he was its sole audience member. One day, while exploring the city's underbelly, the forgotten archives of a pre-telepathic age, his hand brushed against a peculiar object. It was a box of rusted metal and strange dials, a relic from a time his history nodes described as the Auditory Era. Intrigued by its alien design, he tinkered with it, his fingers tracing the forgotten symbols. A faint click, a twist of a knob, and a soft, rhythmic hiss filled his small workshop. This was not the silence he knew. This was something else. It was a presence, a texture in the air. He held the box closer, his ear pressed against its grated speaker. The rhythmic hiss grew, a sound he would later learn was called static. To Elian, it was the most beautiful thing he had ever experienced. It was a whisper from the past, a secret just for him. The static was a living thing, a stark and vibrant contrast to the sterile, frictionless silence of Aethel's telepathic network. In a city where every thought was shared and nothing was private, this hiss was his own personal universe, a chaotic song that drowned out the nothingness. He spent days, then weeks, with his ear glued to the machine, which he learned was called a radio. The static was his constant companion. It was the sound of rain on a roof he had never seen, the crash of an ocean he could only imagine. It was a language without thought, a raw, untamed force that spoke directly to his soul. The rest of Aethel hummed with the silent, orderly exchange of pure data, a world of perfect clarity and unnerving stillness. But in Elian's small room, there was glorious, beautiful noise. Then, one cycle, something shifted. The static faltered, and through the veil of hiss, another sound emerged. It was a voice. A human voice, crackling with age and distance. It was not the clean, instantaneous transfer of a concept that his peers experienced. This was layered, textured, full of warmth and imperfections. It had a rise and a fall, a rhythm, a melody. The voice spoke of things Elian could barely comprehend, of music, of laughter, of crying. It spoke of a world painted in sound. If anyone is out there, the voice began, a fragile plea across an ocean of time. Remember us. Remember sound. The voice described a sunset, not as a visual data packet of colors and light angles, but as a symphony of crickets and a gentle evening breeze whispering through the leaves. Elian closed his eyes. For the first time, he could almost feel the world the voice was describing. The sound painted pictures in his mind more vivid than any sensory data implant could ever provide. The city outside, with its silent, gliding citizens and perfectly manicured thought streams, suddenly felt cold and empty. The voice was a woman's. She called herself Anya, and she was broadcasting from a time just before the great transition to telepathy. She explained, a musician. She played him a song on an instrument she called a piano. The notes cascaded from the radio, a waterfall of emotion that drenched Elian's silent world. He felt a pang in his chest, a feeling so overwhelming he didn't have a name for it. It was joy and sorrow, longing and fulfillment, all at once. His eyes welled with tears, a physical reaction to an auditory stimulus. He was experiencing the world as his ancestors had. He was feeling with his ears. This broadcast, he realized, was the last signal. The final echo of a lost world. Anya's voice was a ghost, a message in a bottle from a forgotten shore. She spoke of the fear and excitement of the coming telepathic age. The worry that in gaining a new way to connect, humanity would lose something precious. Don't forget the beauty of a spoken word, the comfort of a shared song, she pleaded. Don't let the world fall silent. Elian looked out his window at the city of Aethel. He saw people communicating with perfect efficiency, sharing complex equations and architectural blueprints in an instant. But he saw no joy in their faces. He saw no passion in their movements. They were connected, but were they truly together? The telepathic network was a marvel of engineering, a flawless system. But it lacked the chaotic, beautiful imperfection of Anya's voice, the raw emotion of her piano. The overwhelming sensory experience was almost too much. The static, once a comforting whisper, now felt like the roar of a dying star. The voice, a beacon of warmth, was also a testament to an immense loss. He was hearing the swan song of an entire dimension of human experience. The silence of his city was no longer peaceful. It was a profound and deafening absence. It was the silence of a tomb. He began to work feverishly, using the ancient schematics he'd found with the radio. He wasn't a technician, but he had a new purpose. Anya's voice had given him a mission. He began to build, modifying the radio, amplifying its signal, trying to create something that could not just receive, but also send. He wanted to answer her. He wanted to tell her that someone was listening, that her message had not been lost to the void. His project was a paradox. How could a silent man create sound? He couldn't speak, he couldn't sing, but he had the static. He had the rhythmic hiss and crackle of the universe. He learned to manipulate the dials, to modulate the frequencies. He would compose a symphony of static. A percussive beat from a feedback loop, a soaring melody from a finely tuned frequency. It would be his voice. It would be his answer to Anya's song. He knew the council would not understand. To them, sound was a primitive, inefficient form of data transfer. It was noise, chaos, a disruption to their perfect, silent order. But Elian didn't care. Anya's broadcast had rewired his perception of reality. He now understood that true connection wasn't about the clarity of the information. It was about the shared experience, the emotion conveyed in the imperfections, the warmth in the human voice. The day finally came. His own crude transmitter was ready. He aimed its antenna towards the heavens, a hopeful gesture across the centuries. He took a deep breath, his heart pounding a rhythm that felt like the first beat of a new kind of music. He turned the dials, his hands dancing across the machine. He wasn't just sending static, he was sending a message. He sent the chaotic rhythm of a living heart. He sent the soaring whine of hope. He sent the crackle of a soul ignited. He sent his signal out into the cosmos, a reply to a ghost. It was a desperate, beautiful, and utterly human act. In a world of perfect communication, Elian, the silent boy, had found his voice. He didn't know if anyone or anything would hear it. But as the waves of his own unique sound pulsed out from his small room, breaking the profound silence of Aethel for the first time in centuries, he smiled. He was no longer just a void. He was a broadcast. He was the echo of an old world, and perhaps the first note of a new one. Thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey. If Elian's passionate quest for true connection resonated with you, and you appreciated exploring the enduring power of sound, please give us a like on this video and subscribe to Cell Narrator for more thought-provoking, compelling narratives. Your support helps us keep telling these stories. Now the question rests with you. If you lived in Aethel and could create one single sound to break the silence, what forgotten human experience, specific song, a burst of laughter, or a powerful spoken word would you choose to send? Let us know your signal in the comments below. We truly appreciate your support. See you next time.